local Louisville real estate broker, coming to you live from outside the offices of Amped Realty here in Louisville, Kentucky. I appreciate you jumping on with us to listen to our Talks with Todd at 12 on Tuesdays. And today what we're going to kind of cover a little bit is we're really looking for, and I forgot to introduce, here's JC. Again, keep me on track here, everybody. But what we're going to talk about, we've kind of been chatting about this, is, we hear a lot of things on television shows about, flipping houses or renting houses. And basically, we're finding out that the number one investment is still real estate, physical real estate, not necessarily the stock market at this point, but physical properties. And we're trying to talk a little bit about, if you own a property already and you want to become a real estate mogul, really, how do you go about doing that with, with the current house that you have? And I know JC and I were talking a little bit and going back to his, he's deciding on whether or not to sell his house just because he's got to do some window work. So he still hasn't figured that out yet. But JC, what kind of questions do you got for me, buddy?
Yeah, this really applies to me because I'm in that point where I do want to sell my house. The money pit, they call it, right?
Sure.
No. For the first question I have, how do I know that I don't need to sell my home and I can hold on to it for the future?
Well, and that's a really good question, and that's going to be a small population of current homeowners. So with that in mind, you're going to think of the 3 P's, and that's preparation, and preparation. You've got to know what you are financially capable of doing, okay? And that's preparing all of your numbers to see for now, your current time, and in the future. So you can financially hold on to 2 properties and go through 2 mortgages at the same time in case something comes up. So, it's nice to think about, hey, you've got that money coming in as rental income, but if you don't have the house rented or something happens where you have to have some out-of-pocket expense, do you have the financial capability to do that? So really what you want to do is you want to talk to your loan officer and kind of get an idea of, hey, what is this going to take in order for me to keep my house and to allow me to move forward? So if you don't really have to sell your house to buy a new one, that's a very good telltale sign. And when you qualify for that second mortgage, you're going to have to qualify for that without rental income. Now, there are some tips and tricks that if you want that property to qualify with you having income, there's some ways to go about doing that, but you might be homeless for a little while. Jokingly, you'd be in a temporary living situation possibly, but down the road if you find that you are interested in. So really, I would say the number one thing is to make sure that you've got your finances in order and that you can afford 2 mortgages at the same time. Does that make sense, JC?
Yeah, it sure does. I don't think I'll be able to afford 2 mortgages anytime soon, but maybe in the future I can rent my place out and move to a different house. There you go.
There you go.
So if you are, this is something that you're coming up with as far as an idea in your head of you want to rent your home, but you notice that the market, is kind of bad in your area. How does the market, I guess, affect this whole situation that you're going to be in?
Well, and again, that's a really good question. So let's say, for example, you live in your house for, let's say it was a starter home, okay, and you're a single individual, and you bought a home or a small condo, and you've got a mortgage on. You've been in it for, let's say, a minimum of 5 years, and now that you go to sell and the market's gone cyclical, now may not be the best time to sell. So you might have an option of obviously staying in that place, but you could very easily outgrow it depending on how your situation and life has changed. Or if you want to use that as a rental property to move out, if the market is not so good for sellers at the moment, you might have a sweet deal to get it rented. Now, the markets could potentially determine whether or not you want to sell. So again, I'm just throwing numbers out. Let's say realistically, you bought your place for 155 years ago, and let's say there's been a problem with that particular area or the market, and you go to sell your house, and after 5 years, your property is basically back to the same point it was, and you don't necessarily want to lose money. So you could rent that property out if you can afford it. The number one is on the preparation is to make sure you're financially responsible. So the market being down could potentially be a good thing for you with regards to the rent. Now, one thing that I will tell you, and I tell a lot of first-time investors, is that if you're looking for properties that will rent, make sure you can follow the 1% rule. So let's take, for example, your first property that you bought. Let's say your mortgage on that particular property is $1,000. And again, this is just a general number, it's $1,000. Can you rent that property for $1,000 in the area? That would also determine whether or not you'd be able to keep the property and actually, turn a profit on it. Now, you're going to want to look at the numbers again because you're going to want a little bit of a cushion. But again, typically would be about 1% of what you are paying on your mortgage, or if you were going to sell the house. So if your mortgage, you've already got the property, right? So you're not buying the property for rental purposes. If you're buying it for rental purposes, you're going to want 1%. If it's 150,000, you're going to want 1,500. If your mortgage is 1,000, can you rent it for 1,000? If your mortgage is 1,000, that might actually be a good deal for somebody because rents will typically go up when the market goes down. So you could potentially find some good deals and make a little bit of money. So again, two things there is you want to make sure it's at 1%. You want to make sure that you've got enough to cover your mortgage and maybe give yourself a little bit extra. So did that make sense, or did I ramble a little bit too much with regards to the market? Yeah.
No, it made perfect sense.
Okay.
I followed along pretty well. With this though, I mean, if you determine that you're going to keep your house now, you made that decision, you're not going to sell it. What are some things you can do to make it renter ready? Renter ready.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Most people like to move into it without doing anything. And again, just like when you're selling a house, you've got to have curb appeal to it. So you want to go through and make sure that the house isn't banged up. If you're renting something with a yard, that the yard is clean and ready to be taken over by the homeowner. That's kind of one secret that's nice is, on single family properties, it's the tenant that typically takes care of the home maintenance and the yard maintenance. So you wouldn't have to worry about cutting the grass anymore, which would be nice. But you want to make sure that it's got good curb appeal. You want to make sure that everything is in working order. Anything that you've got in there that you might have of value. And I know some people change out light switch covers, and they change out lighting fixtures and ceiling fans. And if you've got something that's of an extreme value, you may want to replace that for something that's generic or general, just in case a renter decides to come in and not be so kind as to the property as you are. But basically, you're just going to go through and make sure that there's no problems with the property. Make sure that a renter can move in. Make sure that it's easy to navigate for the renter, and they've got an easy in to regards to the property. That way, you can continue to make profit and hopefully sell down your house and have some income coming in. So again, the 3 P's: preparation, with regards to finances, with regards to a cushion. Again, talk to your realtor, talk to your broker, talk to your loan officer to make sure that all of those issues can be covered by you and scenarios. Let the professionals help run some different scenarios for you to see if it's something that would suit your needs. The other thing too, and I know not to go off on a tangent, but if you decide to rent your place, make sure that you get proper background checks. And that's something that I offer all my clients for free. If they want to do that, we can do background checks, credit checks, criminal record checks. So again, that's a free service that I do offer all my clients if they decide to rent their property. So very, very easy to do is we can do that. And then again, just kind of look at the situation, look at the bigger picture, and make sure that you get with the professionals to sit down and look at the bigger picture to make sure that you are ready to become a landlord, so to speak. So, JC, I think we've covered everything with regards to the topics. Do you, the questions that you asked, do you have any more questions at this point?
No, I think you answered them pretty well. I don't really have anything else.
Okay. Well, hey, everybody, I appreciate you stopping by my vlog today. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to pick up the phone and give us a call, area code 502-220-4663, or think of it as 220-HOME. Always happy to help. And please don't keep us a secret. We will definitely look forward to your call or your questions in the near future. Have a great week. Take care. Bye-bye.